All right. So, everybody, welcome. My name is Julio Briones. I'm with Briones Consulting Group, and welcome to the Home Care Owners Corner. Today, we are talking about how to get endless referrals, home care referrals, without cold calling. So, this is something we call the Flywheel Strategy. All right. And for those of you watching us live, feel free to leave us a comment below and let us know what's your biggest struggle when it comes to getting referrals for your home care agency. All right. So today we're going to talk about five key elements of how to transform your agency from your standard go out, market, build relationships, hope for the best, and how to use your everyday activity into to activate your flywheel process. So first, let's go ahead and let's see here. All right, I'm just getting myself organized. I got a new setup. I'm still not quite used to it. So let's first talk about what is the referral flywheel. That's point number one. What is the referral flywheel? So we've talked about this before, but this is, I think, the first time that I'm going to go ahead and explain it. And before we do, let me just ask you real quick, what are your thoughts on the referral flywheel? What do you think it is before we get into the explanation? Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to like the video, give it a share, subscribe, leave us a comment below. It really helps us and helps the algorithm find us so more people can get the information that we are putting out there. And also, it helps us know which topics you guys are most interested in. So, all right. So, what is a referral flywheel? So, in its most basic form, it's a loop of value. Okay. So, you have trust. Trust leads to referrals. Referrals lead to results. Results lead to more value, which increases the trust. Okay. And it just goes in this constant loop. All right. So, unlike these one time referral tactics where you're just going out there and you're hoping for the best, I'm going to go talk to the nurse, go talk to the social worker, go talk to that geriatric care manager, go talk to that attorney, that accountant. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to talk about the one off things that we do. And hey, would you mind working with us? All of that is great. And believe me, that's all part of this. None of those tactics change. What does change is how you build on that. So now, once you have that initial set of referrals, how are you going to get it to a point where you're just not needing to be there all the time? So way back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and I was out there doing sales and marketing and business development myself, I had, at that point in my career, I'd never really done it. I kind of fell backwards into doing the sales portion of it, and until then, all I had really done in home care was the recruitment, scheduling, care management, and operations management. So when I got put into the sales role, I very literally, and those of you that know me for a while, that know me from before I did consulting, the my bosses at the time, they just said, you know what, go figure it out. They didn't know how to train me. They didn't know what they were doing. They already had a main sales guy. I was just put out there to kind of figure it out and to help them grow their agency. And that was my first sales job. At that time, I was making about 13 bucks an hour, and I turned that into about an $80,000 a year salary with a commission. And one of the ways that we did this was by building this referral flywheel. I understood that there's an inherent value to the home care services, not just to seniors, but to the referral partners. How do you help them improve their business? So this is what we did. You come in and you talk about the value. Then once you show them the value, you have to now demonstrate it. This is what's going to build trust. Once you have their trust, they're going to send you a referral. Now, this is where the key comes in. When you have the referral, you have to go and bring back reports of the results, what's actually happening. This is going to increase the overall value that you are bringing to these referral partners, which again, more value means more trust. And it just creates this entire momentum based system. So, long story short, when I left that sales role, I used to hear from the owners 2 years after the fact, without me walking into any of those primary accounts, they would, like clockwork, still send referrals because we accomplished two things. One, we got this flywheel going. We have this circle of trust that was built up, creating this momentum for more referrals. And the second thing that came out of this is that it helps build a relationship between the facility and your agency. So business to business relationship, not referring facility to me relationship. And all of this comes into play. And this actually brings us to the second point. Okay. So why most home care agencies burn out chasing these referrals. So, look, if you're like most agencies, this is your pattern. You go, you put up a lot of effort. You go and you visit, drop off brochures, candy, tote bags, all the regular stuff that everybody talks about on YouTube, and even myself, I've talked about this stuff before. And this is what ends up happening. You go out there, you do it, you do your lunch and learns, you meet and greets, you're networking, all of these other activities that are designed to grow and build your base. Fantastic. Great job. Then the a lead comes in, nobody follows up, nobody goes back. They don't know if you did a good job or not. And now you're back to square one. So you're going back out there again and you're creating this linear, exhausting approach. It's just go beat your head against the wall, hope for the best. Some months you're up, some months you're down, but you don't have a pipeline, you don't have predictability in what's going to come in. So this is how it goes. So at the end of the day, what does this create? It creates a situation where you're only as good as your last visit. You know, before I did this with that particular agency, I won't get into names of agencies or anything that they sold it anyway by many years ago. But when what this does, they used to say all the time, out of sight, out of mind. So if you weren't constantly hammering away at the place, and creating this linear outreach, traditional outreach, you would be forgotten, and you would only be as good as it was on the last call. If somebody else came in after you, offering $1 less an hour, or offering some other bonus, or maybe they came in, and let's be realistic, depending on where you are, while CMS has a lot of rules, we all know that bribery is a thing sometimes. So and it's not always bribery where you're just coming in with a pile of cash. Sometimes it's who brings in the nicer lunch, who creates free lunch Fridays for them, who brings in the massage chairs. This is all different forms of legal bribery, where you're doing something extra for them with the expectation of getting referrals. Again, everybody's guilty of it in some way, shape, or form. I wouldn't talk about lunch and learns if they didn't work to a certain capacity, and either would other people. But the reality is that all of these one-off activities, it prevents any sort of leverage or scalability. All right, so now the other this all of this again leading to burnout, to referral burnout. So the other thing is that leads to this is that these agencies, a lot of agencies, and again, I've owned and been part, and I've seen it. I've seen it when I come in to work with clients all the time. They miss out on the systems and culture pieces that are going to drive growth. Everybody talks about culture, everybody talks about systems, but let's be realistic. All right, let's go back. Let's backtrack a little bit and let's talk about what the referral flywheel is. So we have value, trust, referral, result, loops it back around to more value, more trust, more referrals, more results. All right, so here's the thing. How do you build this out? All right. So, how do you build out systems? How do you talk about culture? How does all of this come into play? That brings us to our next point, the core components of the referral flywheel. Okay. So, number one is the client experience. There is no better marketing for your agency than the care you deliver to your clients. I'll shout it for the people in the back. Client experience is your number one marketing tool. All right. So if you're not collecting those Google reviews, creating the social proof, here's a simple exercise that I have most of my clients do at, early on when I start working with them. Get an email, draft a simple email, go back and look at any client and any caregiver that has begun working with you over the last 60 days. I want you to do this and tell me if it what the outcomes are. Just send them the email and say, "Hey, thank you so much for joining XYZ Home Care family." Just have a real simple question for you. How are we doing? That's all. How are we doing? If you want a variation of that, you can ask them how do you like working with us so far? And leave it as an open-ended question. Don't hint at one way or the other. Just an email. How did we do? How are we doing? Okay? Send that out to your caregivers, send that out to your clients over the last 60 days. All right? And just look at the responses. Anybody who gives a bad response, you're going to call and you're going to find out why. All right? Like, "Hey, I'm so sorry that you didn't have the experience that we strive to give you." Great, easy fix. The next thing is you're going to take some of your best ones. You're going to go to a real simple program. Go to Canva. It's cheap. It's so cheap it's free. They have a free version of it. Create a nice little social media post and put the best comments from that email and share it. Share it with your email list. Make a flyer out of it. Add it into the signature line. Put it on social media. Put it anywhere that people will see it, and you will see that this is going to enhance trust. Social proof is a very powerful tool. Okay. So the next component of the flywheel are the referral relationships. It's simple. Go out there, build relationships. Look, people build are people. Okay. People will build relationships. Those relationships are what's going to grow your business. I've said this many times over the years. This has never changed. It's an ongoing philosophy that we have at Briones Consulting Group. We believe this to our core. Those people that you have relationships with, if you have a solid client experience and you're letting people know, then you can let your referral relationships know and they are going to advocate on your behalf. These people rely on you to either keep their businesses open or hold on to their jobs. All right, you need to do your part. They need to trust and believe you are doing your part. Let them know. This is why you want to build a testimonial culture. Again, I can't stress this enough. Social proof amplifies reach, it amplifies the people's perception of your authority as a subject matter expert. I am in a desperate situation. My mother just broke her leg because she can't be by herself. She tripped, she fell, her house is not organized, thousand other things. I'm sitting in that hospital. I do not want that person walking in to see me that has no reviews, that no one can tell me that they're doing a good job, that no one is willing to vouch for their level of service. This is what it is. It applies to all business. I'm going to tell you very simply, how many of you, ask yourself this and leave us a comment down below and let us know. Have you ever gone on Amazon and before you bought even something as um, as simple as a pen, don't you look at the reviews, how well reviewed it is, how many stars does it have, like what's going on with it? We all do this. Social proof is a driving force in our decision making. Studies have shown that in today's world, well over 70% of people will check reviews before they make a major purchase decision. So you have to figure out how do you become a testimonial culture? How do you build this in your office? Okay. And then finally, you got to make sure you have solid internal alignment. Don't just come in and say, hey, we're becoming a testimonial culture today, or hey, we need to improve our client experience. No, you have to have internal alignment. Every single person on your team plays a role in the flywheel's momentum. Your scheduling people, you as an owner, your operations people, your salespeople, nurses if you have them, your caregivers, caregiver supervisors, everyone, recruiters, everyone has to play a role because our next point is how do we get the flywheel actually moving? So your business is out there, you're doing good. It doesn't matter if you're doing, 100,000 a year or if you're doing 100 million a year in business. You can do this as long as you have some of this stuff moving along. So number one, you're going to start with 3 client experiences, really good ones. We already talked about an exercise on how to do this. Just send out an email. How are we doing? What do you think of us? Would you refer us to someone else? Create that net promoter score. Okay. Get this done. Set up, we're going to talk a little bit at the end on how to set these things up. Okay. So, but you want to start with right now 3 amazing client experiences. If you're a smaller agency and you don't have 3 clients yet, then get one. It doesn't matter. All right, but you got to get this down. You want to capture the story. Again, an email. Walk in, ask for a testimonial, get them to leave you a Google review. Bring your phone. We all have cell phones. Walk into the client's house, get them to fill out a consent form. Or, if it's obvious enough, you don't really need one, but it's always good to have. Get the permission to use it. Take a video of them talking about how awesome their caregiver is and how much they love working with your agency. Do whatever you have to do. Capture that story. Get that positive review. Turn it into content and share it, not just on your website, not just on social media, but share it with your referral partners. How do you do this? Well, you can set up an email list that your referral partners are included in on. You could put it on a flyer. You could send them an email. I mean, we coach our clients with templates and stuff on how to create emails that will give them updates periodically, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and even annual reviews. And you want to make sure that you're doing this, and you want to make sure that you're creating something that we call, flywheel fuel rituals. Okay, meaning you're going to follow up, you're going to do your check-ins, you're going to do gratitude touches. Hey, thank you so much. What do I mean by this? I mean, if you sent out that email like I'm telling you, and somebody says that you guys are just the bee's knees, the best thing on earth, greatest thing since sliced bread, as an owner, even if you're not fully active in the day-to-day operations, you need to call that client. You need to call that caregiver. Hey, thank you so much. I'm so glad we're having a positive impact on your life. Make it sincere, make it genuine. Let people know you care. Look, one thing that we tend to forget, we are in the home care space, in a healthcare caring business because we care about people. Okay? We're not in this because we're only in it for the profit. Some people are, but those people that are smart enough to hire people that actually care to run the business. Don't forget that. So you want to make sure that you have these, flywheel fuel rituals. Make sure that you're doing your weekly follow-ups, you're doing your check-ins, you're doing your quality assurance checks with your client, with your caregiver, with the families, all of these people. Make sure you're doing this. And that's going to lead, once you have that flywheel going, as long as you're maintaining, now we get into our final point. How do you keep the flywheel spinning long term? How do you recreate that environment that I talked about in the beginning of this video, where it was 2 years before I walked into some facilities and they were just calling to make sure that they got more brochures when they needed it. But otherwise, they were like clockwork. There was not a client that went into these facilities that didn't come out with at least our brochure. They didn't always go with us. That was fine because they gave choice, because that's important that clients have the choice. But there was one of those things where they were given 3 to 5 brochures, and the social worker would kind of push ours ahead, and we got the lion's share at most of the facilities we were working in. That's how we were able to grow that particular agency from 3 million to 16 million in less than 2 years. Okay. Because once you have these things in place and things are moving, things will start to go. So, how do you keep it spinning for the long term? Well, number one, you got to have a repeatable process for every client, every referral win. There has to be some automation set up. Once the client's with you for 5 days, they get an email asking for a referral. You're getting reminders internally in the office to make these phone calls. You have a predictable system of client checks, caregiver checks, unannounced pop-up visits. You're following up with families. You're following up with the referral partners. Everything has to be a repeatable process where everyone is tied in on this. You have to make sure your team is trained to recognize flywheel moments. We talked about this in our video last week or the week before. Those wow moments. Okay. Hey, we just started services with you. I can't believe it. Mom's at home. She's sleeping after only 2 days, even though she was in that facility for the last 90 days. She's feeling better. She looks better. Oh, you know what? Mom was on hospice. That we were told she only was going to last another 30 days. Here we are 6 months later. One of the things that, as morbid as this may sound, that I used to really get a kick out of and I used to enjoy is when we had clients call and be like, hey, maybe you want to take a little less care of mom. It was awful because we were like, this your mother. You're supposed to love her and take care of her. But they weren't expecting it. And now it's like, oh, what do we do? It's crazy. Not the moment of them complaining that mom's still alive. But it was always a joy to hear that, like, hey, we're doing such a good job that we've improved the quality and quantity of life of this person that we're taking care of. So, all of these moments you want to make sure your team recognizes. When you have a caregiver that's doing outstanding, recognize that. Make sure, there's a lot of little things that got to go in place, but make sure you have all of these things systematized. Look, you don't have to systematize your entire business right away. It's something you want to work on, but definitely something you want to consider as you're building up your business. Anything that's easily repeatable will get done. All right, you want to create something. In the army, we used to call it the pluck and chuck method, so that we would be able to have systems down so much to where you can put any random person in there and they'd be able to follow these SOPs, these standard operating procedures, and get the job figured out. It may take a little while the first time you do it, but still, you can. It's a repeatable process. Okay, so the next thing is you want to make sure that you are setting flywheel reviews. You want to analyze every part of your business. Look at the parts that are most driving momentum. So let's take a look at this. We're going to have to look, it starts with our referral partners. Where are the bulk of our clients coming from? If I'm going to tell you guys right now, if the bulk of your clients are coming from Google search, it's okay. It's a little more okay because that means you got your review culture up. But if it's coming from places like Place for Mom, Karen Homes, Caring.com, any one of these lead generators, if that's where 90% of your business is coming from, you're doing something wrong. You don't have a repeatable process. All you've created is a way to purchase leads, and then you've got pretty decent at following up on them, or the ROI is big enough on the clients that you're getting that you're willing to take a hit financially. You got to take a look at who is referring the most clients. Is it coming from word of mouth? Is it coming from Google? And is it coming from which facilities? And then we got to start taking a look and analyzing not just which facility, but who inside the facility is. Let's get granular about this. Let's take a look at who's sending these clients and what are we doing to help promote that so we can repeat it elsewhere. Okay. One of the biggest questions I get all the time, like, oh, I think my marketer's doing great. They're doing like 3 or 4 referrals a month. And then they get confused when I say, well, in your market, you should potentially be getting 8 to 12. or 15 to 25 referrals, depending on the market they're in and a number of other factors that we looked into. So what do you know, it kind of lets the air out and they're like, well, how do I get them to do it? Well, it's not what they're doing necessarily. It's part of what the agency is doing all the way around. Do you have everything in place that's going to help you do it? All right. So these are things that you want to make sure you have in mind. And just to review, all right, you want to make sure that you understand that the basic component and the loop that is the referral flywheel: value, trust, referral, result. That's it. And it should just continuously be spinning around. You want to make sure that you are understanding that agencies that don't have systems in place or culture, they're not going to have lasting growth. Okay. You want to make sure that you understand all the four main elements of the referral flywheel: the client experience, your referral relationship, you have a testimonial culture, and you have internal alignment. Make sure everyone on your team is playing ball. If they're not, if there's no buy-in, you're not going to get the results you want. You got to make sure that you understand how to get the thing moving in the first place. Chase after those amazing client experiences. Get those stories captured and use your flywheel fuel rituals. Make sure you're sending out follow-ups, you're doing your check-ins, you're doing your quality assurance, you're doing your high touch and your gratitude touches. All right. And then you want to make sure that you have a method in place to keep the flywheel spinning long term. Make sure that the processes that work that are being followed for every client, every referral, all of these things are going in place. And that includes caregivers too. Okay. They're all part of your team. Don't forget them. Right. You also want to make sure that your team, all the way up and down, they know how to recognize and activate these flywheel moments. And then finally, you want to make sure that you're setting up at the very least quarterly meetings to analyze what is driving the business forward. What specifically is it that's moving things along? So that's our presentation for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. And as usual, don't forget to like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel if you're watching us on YouTube. And you can join us every week on Facebook. It's the summer. I have kids, and there's a lot of moving parts to having a family, especially like here we go. Yep, you can. Oh, ah, all right. Well, you can tell I'm doing this live, but you see, I have young kids. So here it is. I do apologize for the sporadic nature of these videos. We're working on getting back on a fixed schedule. So if you're missing our lives, just you can watch the replay on YouTube. All right, but thank you for joining us. We look forward to bringing you more videos. And don't forget, if you want to talk to us about how we can help your home care agency, there's a link below where you can visit us at thebrionesgroup.com and book your free discovery call today. Thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you next time.